Okay, the epoxy set now. The little back wheel spins freely here, as it does. These pieces on the body are set good. Now I want you to clear these holes out. Epoxy. I use a screwdriver about the same size. Let's see. There's some epoxy there. Gotta break through it. You can use a drill if you want. So just styrofoam and a little bit of epoxies. Make sure the holes are and I might even go around a little bit with an X-Acto knife. Just to make sure they fit pretty good. The next stage, we test fit some other stuff. Okay, so they're done. Set that aside. We're going to have a look at our elevator. It's the next day, so this was glued yesterday. And it moves just fine. So that's ready to be used. And our wing that we had. The elevators are moving just fine. The glue's set on everything, so that's ready to go. Now, the plane body. You have to cut out the back here. You see where I am here? About here to here. Whatever that there is, we're going to cut right there. Now do this really nice, because we have to save this piece. We're going to glue this piece back in later. Okay? Make that comes out really nice, and set it aside. Keep that piece. Okay, now we take this little piece that we had with the nut in it. We're going to test fit it in here. I guess I better show you. Okay, inside the airplane, there's a slot here with the nut facing towards the top. And it fits really nice. So we'll pull it back out. And I'm going to scratch up the edges again. Remember, most of these plastic pieces are very smooth. So if you don't scratch them up, they don't stick to the glue, doesn't stick to the foam very good. And your GWS plane might not be as fun as you thought, especially if pieces come loose. Okay, got a little bit of epoxy mixed. I'm going to put a little bit on each side. On the front leading edge. Doesn't take very much to hold this in place. You don't want to get a lot of epoxy and other stuff all over the bolt. That just slid in nice. And I can see by looking down the hole there that the nut's straight down in there. Okay, that's epoxied in. Now, I'm just going to apply a little extra epoxy just on this edge where it sticks out. Just to make sure it's nicely set in there. Okay, now we're going to put the tail wheel we have here that we have onto the elevator, or the rudder, sorry, onto the rudder. Okay, now you got this little black piece here. You find it, it's got a slot one side. Okay, instructions, it tells you what number it is. So I'm fitting it on here. And I'm looking, okay, this has to go on this way first, okay? That's with the slot up like that and so the wheel and wire are aligned like that. Now on the rudder, we're going to measure up just about the distance. Okay? See, we have enough room for this here hinge. We'll measure up. I'm going to mark the center where that shaft's going to go. Okay? Now, I'm going to take my drill. I'm going to drill straight in on this hole. Uh-oh. Now I'm going to test fit this. Should go in. Oh, I gotta go a little deeper. Always test fit before you start gluing. You never know. Okay. Now I know that we're going to have to cut another groove here. A nice sharp X-Acto knife and an angle on one side end and on the other side. Okay. And this go like that, we'd be countersunk. Now I'm going to slide this black thing all the way down here to the tire, because when I use the epoxy and glue this, I don't want it to get stuck. Okay, but the epoxy mixed good. I'm going to apply a little bit to the groove. And then the shaft. Put some epoxy on it. On the wire. Remember, you gotta mix really small amounts for doing this. It doesn't take much epoxy at all. Now, I'm gonna get as much epoxy as I can down that hole with this wire, and put it into the slot there. Now the important thing about this is one of the hinge points for the yellow rudder. I make sure this glue stays up here nice. It's 5-minute epoxy, so it's going to set quick. And that should be that done. We put the tail wheel in the elevator, or in the rudder. I'm going to set it aside very carefully to let that wheel dry in place. I said carefully, didn't I? Wow, it's tail heavy. Okay, I want to hold it. We'll be back in a bit.